The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Andrew Rogers here on the Eagles Sports Network with Carson-Newman head baseball coach Tom Griffin as we get ready to talk about the upcoming schedule for the 2025 season. Coach, happy holidays. It's snowing outside when we record this interview, so certainly getting ready for baseball season, but about a month and a half away from the year starting. It'll be the second time ever program starts in January. You're playing a game on January 31st. Doesn't mean a whole lot, still starting the same weekend, but how exciting is it to get another season started?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Listen, at this point in my career, it's my 35th year, you really appreciate them even more. Like when you're in your first, second, third year, you're not even thinking about it. And now you're in year 35 and you're like, okay, now you really enjoy it much more. And I've always enjoyed them. I mean, And like you said, we got the snow right now. Kids just got done with exams. They're heading home, and this is the biggest fear all coaches have in baseball and softball is they go home now for 5 weeks, and what do they do while they're home? What habits are being formed or what habits are being lost? What's their training regimen like? When they come back in, we'll have 3 weeks to get ready for a season, and what we've done all fall has got to continue, or else, we're going to have a step back. And that's where it's up to your leaders to hold everybody accountable through phone call, through Zooms, through if they live close enough each other to interact with each other. So that this is going to be an important time. We hope we have laid the foundation for them of how to do things. But at the end of this fall, Andrew, I'd be honest with you, I wasn't sure they understood it watching their actions around us. We were a little disappointed in the ending of that, to be honest with you, and so we hope that will change as they move forward.
All right, let's break down this schedule. Second straight year. Are you trying to walk out of the camera there?
No.
Second straight year, you open up with King. What highlights this schedule, though, is second ever series with Charleston and Florida Southern, both historically good programs. Charleston coming off its winningest season in program history, made the regional tournament with 44 wins, and in fact had the most road wins in the country last year, longest active road winning streak. So what does it mean to have two newish programs that you have not faced as often, and two challenges as well?
Yeah, for sure. And listen, Florida Southern historically is one of the top Division II programs in the country, and new coach in there who did a phenomenal job at St. Leo. So it's going to be a good test for us. I'm glad it's up here in Jeff City, and we don't have to go down to Florida. In fact, when he got the job and he called me about the schedule, he goes, "Is this a typo? Are we really coming up there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they agreed to it." So he's kind enough to keep that going. And Charleston, been a great program. Robbie, the years before Robbie Britt, and then Robbie Britt, and now they are continuing that success. And they're really great in developing players at Charleston for sure. But our first thing, obviously, with King, a lot of the teams outside Florida Southern are teams that we have all played before, so we're very familiar with each other. And I think you see this, Andrew. The parity across Division II is tightened up over the years. I think the schools and the investment schools are putting in it, and I think the coaches that are involved in it realize that there's got to be more player development. Now, the portal has helped. Certainly, there's a lot of kids trickling down to us because of the changes that we see across Division I. But, the parity is very good. But as we always say this, and this is a cliche, but it's true, but we're going to make sure that our guys are in the best position to be the best version of themselves for this schedule.
We mentioned Charleston and Florida Southern. Those are non-conference series, so you'll play 3 games with them, but you've got a couple other midweek contests against good programs that made regional tournaments a year ago. Yes. Lee, Trevecca, Young Harris among the group there, not even talking about South Atlantic Conference teams that made the postseason. So what does it mean to have so many quality teams on this schedule in non-conference play throughout the year to get your program ready for conference play when it rolls around?
It's crucial. It's the reps and the type of reps you're getting, the competitiveness of those reps to get you ready for, which we know everybody's conference series are very challenging. We've not been very good, and I'm sure you have a statistic for it. I just know in general we're not very good midweek.
Only on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesdays we're good. I mean, we have not been, the last 2 years, a very good midweek team. Shorter. Young Harris and Lee, we've had trouble beating in midweeks, and we've had leads and lost them. And so we have really just, and talk about it, as a coaching staff and certain players, We got to be more focused. We got to treat every game the same. Okay, yeah. We're not winning them. So we've got to do a better job of being prepared for all of our games. And this fall, we really focused on, every day, this is who we got today. This practice today is a midweek game. It's a Tuesday, and you are playing shorter. And what kind of practice are we going to have? Did we win this practice? Trying to work on the mental part. It's not the physical part. It seems to be a mental part. Because we can go to some weekend series where you could say the odds, if you were a betting man, which we can't do, but if we were betting, we weren't the favorites and were able to come through. So we had a good enough team. We just weren't consistent enough day in and day out to perform. Now, there's injuries, there's other factors that control that, but we've got to become more consistent to get to the championship level we believe we need to be at and want to be at. We've got to have more consistency. That's what was disappointing with the fall ending, was we didn't see that. And again, it's a marathon. But the end of that marathon did not go the way we wanted it to. So now we've got to make sure during this time as coaches, we're staying in touch with these guys. We're reminding them of the Coker series last year, right? They come in, the way they came in, the way they handled their business. Certain series that we went up to and lost, didn't play our best. Now we've got to figure out how do we avoid that going into this year.
Last year's theme, a lot of home games to start the year. Same this year, 12 of your first 18, including 9 of your first 11 games are at home. Was that beneficial last year, having so many of those home games? Did it play a role? And how does that factor into this year's schedule, being very similar, home-heavy start?
Yeah, I don't know. It costs you more money to hold games because you got to pay for their hotels to come in here. But, it's nice to be at home for sure. And, I think it's just like this whole college football playoff. You hope some of the teams coming from up south are playing in colder temperatures. Yep. I think it's always an advantage to play at home. There's a lot more comfortableness to it, obviously, being in your own bed versus hotels, and then the bus trips. That affects things to a certain degree. So it helps. But again, it goes back to those midweek games. It starts with the right pitching that starts you on the right note and having the consistency. We've got to figure that out. But, boy, having those home games are nice. And, the opponents we have, the coaches that coach these things, I respect the heck out of them. I think they do things the right way. We don't have to worry about the bench jockeying and coaches who allow certain things to be said by players because they need to be entertained. Yeah. We feel like we have good people that we're playing, and I think that's important as well when we're competing, that there's a respect factor for it.
You get into the league slate, Wingate and Tusculum, the two teams you'll not see in a weekend series. Weird that you won't see Tusculum. You do get them in 2 midweeks, though, so you will play them, but it won't count towards South Atlantic Conference play. But on paper, you look at it, and you go to Catawba, number 1 team last year. You go to Coker, number 2 team last year. So just based off last year's standings and where you fall and have to go on the road there, it seems like it could be another challenging league slate again this year.
Oh, all the teams are. Yeah. They're all good. And I don't even say top to bottom because I think every conference series is a challenge. I think the job Coker did last year was absolutely exceptional. I think Fico did a phenomenal job. He told them all year the job they did and how he coached them up. And going on the road there, that's your longest trip. And it's not an easy place to play. They play really well at home. And then Catawba, we haven't played in a couple years, and Jim's got the new stadium right now. Some of our guys haven't seen certain stadiums. They haven't been to certain schools, and they've been here 4 years. And that's just the way the schedule goes. But he's got a new stadium over there, and obviously he is probably the Nick Saban of the South Atlantic Conference, I would say, and hard to argue his success. But I think everyone on that conference, that list. And then, here's the thing. We're going to pick a conference preseason. Okay. And yet the portal has changed a lot of teams. Yeah. We don't know who has picked up who and who has lost people from the portal. So you really can't judge anyone. So I would consider everyone to be really good. That's how we look at it. And we also say, listen, we're playing teams, but we're really just competing against ourselves in the baseball. If we can control ourselves and worry about the baseball and not who we're playing across, I think that helps us mentally. Instead of getting caught up on the preseason rankings, I'm sure Catawba, Wingate, and those guys will be in there. A couple new coaches in the league. Yep. Coach Triplett left, but the guy, his assistant, has been there forever. Does a phenomenal job running the things over there. Nothing will change, and even I think with some of those changes, it's going to be good.
Talk about your team to wrap things up. 3 of your 4 all-conference players from last year have graduated: James Denton, Hunter Harrington, Noah Pridmore. You had the freshman standout Logan Floyd. He's returning. Griff Hughes, you could even say, was all-conference caliber. So 4 of your probably 5 best players a year ago are gone. So what does that mean for the upcoming year? Some new players step into new roles, new leaders, and how have you seen that transition? And how do you hope that transitions from the fall, seeing them perform in the World Series and getting ready for the spring?
Well, I just told you the end of it didn't go well. Yeah. So we got some work to do. There's a lot of question marks with pitching. We have a lot of quality arms. We don't know who our weekend starters are going to be. Some people have people returning who are already starters. We have 0. We're going to have brand new starters that will be starting games for us. So there's a question mark right there, and we don't know who that's going to be. Positionally, we feel good about where we are positionally. Our depth is an issue. We can't afford any injuries, but I think any club would tell you they can't afford injuries to their starting role. I think we have a good nucleus there with our offense. The pitching, I think, will be a question mark. And then player development, and we've got a new system, TrackMan. Don't have it up yet. We're still trying to figure out how to get that sucker working. But once we get that working, we feel like that could help in our player development. And we've had it since September. We still can't get it hooked up, ready to run. But that's another issue down the line. But no, if our club, if we get the leadership, that we have guys here, if we can get the things necessary and everyone buy into what we're trying to do, we'll be okay. We'll be fine. If we don't, and we have an injury or two, it could be a tough year. But tough years are how we're going to build and grow from this thing. So believe me, I'm optimistic. It doesn't sound like it with the way the year ended for our fall, but that's why we're going to grind it out here for 5 weeks, and we're going to stay in touch with these guys, and we're going to keep sending stuff out to them to remind them of what their purpose has to be, what this culture has to be.
All right, Coach. Thanks for the time. Next time we talk, it'll be about the glorious preseason poll.
That's beautiful. I can't wait for that. I'll be studying the whole December to figure out who I'm going to pick.
That's the head coach of the Eagles, Tom Griffin. I'm Andrew Rogers, and this is the Eagles Sports Network.